Hey guys, Sarah Halina here, and today I'm going to be reviewing What If, so stay tuned. Alright, so season 1 of What If is done, and I have some thoughts. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my non-spoiler thoughts, so that way if you haven't seen the show yet, you're maybe on the fence about it, you can hear sort of what I thought about it, and then I'm going to go into my spoiler thoughts. Yeah, there's timestamps in the description down below if you want to skip to certain parts. Alright. So What If basically takes things that happened within the MCU movies and just sort of changes some minor things, and then you kind of get to see the ripple down effect of that specific change that was done. You don't really see that in episode 1, but episode 2 and sort of beyond, you get to sort of see sort of the ripple effects of that. Yeah, the show starts off feeling very episodic, just sort of like standalone episodes. It felt very much like you can pick and choose which episode you wanted to see. But by the time you get to like the last 2 episodes, it really all just sort of comes together, and therefore kind of making it a necessity to watch all the episodes. However, if you manage to get the major what happened details of the other episodes, you can kind of skip over them, because while it does sort of bring everything together in the end, there really isn't much discussed about a lot of the other episodes within the season. So as long as you can figure out sort of the major plot points, I guess, of the episodes, you don't necessarily have to watch them. But how watchable is What If you haven't seen any of the MCU? Now, this is weird because in many ways, What If is the easiest Marvel Disney Plus show so far to watch if you haven't watched the MCU, because even though it's taking things from the movies and changing them, the episodes almost kind of feel like their own movie. Like, the characters are introduced to the viewers as if it were like their first time in the movie, because I guess in many ways it sort of is for these versions of the characters. The story plays out from beginning to end, sort of. The Watcher, who's the narrator of the whole show, I guess, basically tells the audience what the MCU fans know from their universe. So you can kind of get a feel for where the MCU viewers are at going into the episode. And then the Watcher basically tells you, and this is what changed. So the Watcher kind of guides new viewers into the show by sort of setting them up to be where the MCU viewers are going into the episode. So everybody's sort of on the same page. Yeah, so in many ways, it's one of the easiest MCU Marvel Disney Plus shows to watch if you haven't watched any of the movies. But that being said, you do get more out of What if you've seen the movies, because you get to see the ripple effects better. You can see how changing one minor thing leads to a whole lot changing, Whereas if you haven't seen the movies, those things that change in big ways are in theory the way it's always been, because, you know, you don't know differently if you haven't seen the movies. It's a very weird show that finds this balance of being a show for the diehard MCU fans while also being a show for the complete newbies who haven't seen any of the MCU movies. It's a weird balance that we got going on here. Yeah, I think honestly it's a show for everyone, whether they're MCU fans or not. But what to watch beforehand? So, like I said, you can watch What If without having seen the MCU. It kind of makes sense. But if you want to get the most out of What If, watch the entire MCU from phase 1 to 3. So like Iron Man to Avengers Endgame, because I don't think Far From Home really plays into it at all. But yeah, it's a lot, I know. It's hard to pin down specific movies to watch, but I mean, I guess I can do my best to give a list of things to watch for each episode. Now, granted, I may be missing some movies. The MCU fans, y'all can help me out by commenting in the comments down below what viewers should watch going into What If. So, okay, here we go. I'm going to try this. I don't know how well this is going to go. Okay. Episode 1, pretty simple. Watch Captain America: First Avenger. Yeah. Episode 2, I would watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, I guess, and Black Panther. Episode 3, I would watch Incredible Hulk, ? Iron Man 2, Thor, Avengers, and Ant-Man. In episode 4, watch Doctor Strange. I like when it's simple. Watch Doctor Strange. For episode 5, I would watch Avengers Infinity War, I guess, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah. Then in episode 6, I would watch Iron Man and Black Panther. Episode 7, I would say watch Thor, I guess. Episode 8, Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Endgame, and episode 4 of What If. And for episode 9, watch all the episodes of What If and the movies, as well as Captain America: Winter Soldier. Yeah, it's a lot, but like I said, you don't necessarily have to watch the movies and everything to watch What If. But I tried my best to give you a general watch list, I guess, for specific episodes. I feel like I didn't do a very good job, but, you know, I tried. I really tried. So now I'm going to be diving into spoilers for most, if not all, the episodes. Look, I don't know. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Come back here to hear what I thought, because spoilers will be discussed. Okay. So first, what I loved about the show. I loved how a lot of the cast returned to voice the characters. Like, it just really made it feel like it was still part of the MCU, even though it was animated. I didn't mind the recasts either. I think they did a good enough job of sounding like the actors that portrayed the characters in the MCU movies. I think if it was live action, it would have been a little more jarring, but in animation, the recasts worked well enough. Speaking of the animation, I actually really love the animation. I think the animation seems to be very decisive with people, where some really like it and some really don't. Personally, I loved it. So, yeah, just a little thing. But another thing I loved was the different character dynamics that we got. With this show taking characters and changing their stories, it allowed for characters who wouldn't have normally interacted with each other before to get that opportunity. Particularly some of the character dynamics that I enjoyed were T'Challa and Yondu, as well as Natasha and Peggy. Now, I love the big changes that were made with the minor changes. Like, basically, like, taking the one moment that changed everything and seeing everything else that changed because of it. So, like, the big one for me was in episode 2 when Yondu took in T'Challa rather than Peter Quill. Yeah, Thanos? He was just part of the good guys. Like, all we needed was for T'Challa to talk to Thanos to get him to abandon his global genocide plan? Really? Like, but I really love that because it was T'Challa and not Peter Quill, that it sort of trickled down to the fact that now Thanos is hanging with the good guys. Like, so it's not just looking at what would change in the minor sense, it's showing how the universe changes as well. I really like that. What I didn't love, though, now, is how each episode just sort of ended on a cliffhanger that was never resolved. Like, in a lot of the episodes, it felt like the ending cliffhanger was when the episode was actually starting to get good. Particularly with the zombies episode, I wanted to see what was gonna happen with zombie Thanos having all but the Mind Stone. Like, the Mind Stone is coming to where he is, and he's a zombie, so what does that mean? I really wanted to see that. But also in the following episode, where Killmonger rescues Tony, you know, Shuri and Pepper are the only ones that believe that Killmonger killed Tony, and they're going to work together to prove it. That is a dynamic I wanted to see. Like, I just, like, all these episodes sort of ended on cliffhangers where it's like, okay, but where does that go? And we never went back to them. But I think probably the most bizarre cliffhanger, I guess, was in episode 2, where we don't see Peter Quill or Ego throughout the whole episode. And literally Peter is only mentioned at the beginning when Yondu basically says that you grabbed the wrong kid. Like, this ain't Peter Quill. This is T'Challa. And then the end of the episode shows Peter working in, like, a Dairy Queen, and Ego shows up, and it's like, why? Like, I get that they were trying to show that in order to save the universe from ending, Yondu needed to save Peter. But, like, really? We didn't see Peter. We didn't see Ego. They weren't really mentioned. Why was that the ending scene? Why did that scene exist at all? Like, it was so random, but we don't really go back to that, except for, I guess, potentially the beginning of episode 9, where T'Challa, like, saves Peter type thing before being grabbed by the Watcher to join the battle. But, like, we don't really go back to that. And it's like, so why did that scene exist? Because at least the others, it's like, okay, I can see where the scene makes sense to exist. But that one was just really out of place. I don't know. I also wish that they had done more in a lot of the episodes. Like, some of the episodes felt like they were going the safe route, like particularly the first episode, where it literally felt like Peggy getting the super soldier serum didn't really change anything at all. It just sort of felt like the first Avenger, just kind of sped up a little bit to fit into an hour episode, with Peggy playing the role of Steve. And it's like, I wanted to see more changes from that, because I feel like there would have been, but there really wasn't. And it was like, okay, so why are we going the safe route here? Like, I don't know. Yeah. That's sort of all I have negative really to say about this show. Because, I mean, it was an enjoyable show. It managed to find a balance between being a show that complete newbies to the MCU can watch, while also giving the diehard MCU fans a lot to enjoy. It's a show that worked as a weekly show as well as a binge. Like, I mean, it worked. And I can't wait for season 2. Let me know. Did you enjoy What If? Did you watch it weekly or wait for all 9 episodes to be available to binge? Also, let me know if you watched it having seen the MCU, or whether you came into What If without watching any of the movies. And how did that experience work for you in particular? Yeah. And if you like this video, you can leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you can be notified when I upload my latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye, guys.